Ladies, please scoot to the left. Ladies, can y'all scooch left a little bit, please, so everybody can be up there? Thank you.
Spread out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have fun and score well.
They can't go with me?
You got cut off by the
No, but I can see it now. No, it's fine. You good? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pleasure Lanes here in Hilton, New York for another exciting Section 5 bowling match between the visitors of Saints of Churchville Charlie and the host, Hilton Cadets. I'm your host, Steve Sorensen, teacher, coach here at Hilton Cadets, hoping to bring you the action as best I can, describe it, and add a little extra mustard to what is a televised event. Pretty exciting match here today. We have 2 cameras set up, so you'll be able to get a closer look at all the lanes. If you're not familiar with how Section 5 has been doing the bowling competitions this year, there is 4 lanes for the girls, 4 lanes for the boys. In Hilton right now, we'll be using lanes 9 and 10, 11 and 12 for the girls, and for the boys, lanes 13, 14, 15, and 16. Churchville Charlie comes in with 3 girl bowlers, whereas Hilton will have 5. So the setup here for today is at lanes 9 and 10. Hilton will have Elena Carr and Emily Chapman by themselves, and we'll head on over there probably a lot early on just to make sure we get a lot of their bowling in before they're done. They should get done pretty quickly. Over on lanes 11 and 12, Churchville Charlie comes in with Abby Algarin, Jeree Jennings, and Nicole Stevens, whereas Hilton will have Bella Ferraro, a freshman, senior Jennifer Reeser, and senior Taylor Lucas. On the boys, we have 7 boys for both Churchville Charlie and Hilton, which means we'll have a sub probably right after the first game for both teams. On lanes 13 and 14 for the Churchville Charlie Saints, Brandon Northrup will be bowling first for Churchville Charlie, Joseph Donnelly will be bowling second, and Joe Carosi will be bowling third. For Hilton, on 13 and 14 will be Matthew Carmestro, freshman, junior Kenny Haslip, and senior Tommy Parsons. And then on the very end, lanes 15 and 16 from Churchville Charlie to start out the match is Isaac Botsford, a sophomore, 7th grader Ryan Pistacki, and senior Dominic Ilushin. For Hilton, freshman Anthony Getty starts off the bowling for Hilton on lanes 15 and 16, Mason Williams, and then Jacob Morrell. Brendan Stevenson will come in for Hilton after the first game, and Jaramillo Garlando will come in at some point for the Churchville Charlie Saints. As the bowlers have just gotten started, just finishing or midway through the first frame, just taking a gander around the lanes to give you a heads up. Let's start right in front of us in lanes 11 and 12. And we have Taylor Lucas, senior Taylor Lucas from Hilton on lane 12 on her first ball in the first frame. Came back, hit the pocket, and she starts out with a strike. That's a great start for Taylor. Nicole Stevens will be throwing her second ball for Churchville Charlie on lane 11. She got 3 on her first. Throws pretty much a straight ball, and that looks like she missed left, and she'll end up with 3 pins on the first frame. Abby Elgarin in lane 12 from Churchville Charlie. A straight ball, looks like it crosses over just a little bit. She didn't see it, but she did get with 8 pins. Little baby split on that. Bella Ferraro, first ball, second frame for Hilton. She gets a strike. Bella started out with a spare, an 8 spare in the first frame, so she's got 2 marks in 2 frames. For Hilton, her second frame, Jenny Reeser throws pretty much a straight ball. Hit that head pin, just crossed over a little bit, got the strike. Brooklyn all day long. That's a split that Abby Elgarin picked up for Churchville Shiloh in lane 12. That's a nice start for her. Taylor Lucas coming off a strike in the first, and she's got 2 in a row. Great start for Taylor Lucas, the senior from Hilton. From Churchville Shiloh, Jaree Jennings with her first ball in the second frame, crosses over, and she ends up with 7. Jaree on the first, Jennings and the first frame, got her ball on the first, but got the spare, so she's coming off a spare in 7 pins. It's a good count on her first ball in the second frame. Jaree on her second ball, see if she can get 2 marks in a row. Looks like it may hang on. Oh, it just cut it in half. She ends up with 9, 26 through 2. Let's take a peek over at lanes 9 and 10. We just have the 2 Hilton bowlers. Elena Carr is going up for her third frame. She started out the match as well as you can. 2 strikes, and her first ball in the third. Hopefully her only ball. Looks like she's found her mark. She's got 3 in a row. She lets you know it's a turkey. 3 in a row. Emily Chapman coming up for her the start of her 4th frame. Yeah, they're going to move quickly over there in lanes 9 and 10. Emily Chapman comes up with a spare, open spare. She misses the head pin, and she ends up with a 7 in the first ball in the 4th frame. She's got a 45 through 3, and she'll be looking to pick up the mark on this one. Be interesting to see how Emily Chapman and Elena Carr handle being only there by themselves, the 2 of them. Do they just get through their matches and finish, or they just pace themselves? Emily Chapman maybe losing a little bit of focus there with just the 2 of them, and throws a gutter ball and ends up with an open in the 4th, and she has a 52 through 4. Let's take a first look at the boys' side. On lanes 13 and 14, Tommy Parsons on his first ball in the 3rd. He had a strike in the last frame. He's got a strike in the 3rd. He's got 3 marks in a row. Started out with a spare, and now he's got his double in the 3rd frame. Tommy Parsons, having watched him just for a few matches, seems, I don't know him personally, but he seems as cool as they come. Not much reaction whether he throws a good ball or a bad ball. Churchville Charlie. First ball. Joe Carosi ends up with a strike in the 3rd frame. I take that back. Sorry about that. That was Brandon Northrup with a strike in the 4th frame for Brandon. On lane 13. Is Joe Carosi. He picked up the 1. He throws a 2-handed style. Just overcooked that and picked up just the 7 pin for a 1 count. And coming off a strike, that hurts just a little bit, but he can still get it back. Joe Donnelly throws it very hard. He ends up with 4 on his first throw. We got Carosi with a strike in the 3rd. In the 2nd, I apologize. And now only picked up 5 pins for a 6 count in the third. He's got 31 through 3. Joe Donnelly in his 4th frame. Tried to pick up the spare. Again, it throws it hard, but left the 10 pin, ends up with a 9. Donnelly ends up with a 46 through 4. Hilton bowler on lane 13, Matthew Carmestro. And he gets a strike. Matthew Carmestro now with 2 strikes in a row. An open in the first, 9 spare in the second, 2 strikes in a row. Rosie, 2-handed style, does get the head pin that time, leaves a solid 10. Haslip, fun to watch, especially for us old guys. Watch this kid's backswing. Looks like it just hurts me to even watch Kenny bowl, but he got a strike, so that makes it feel a little bit better. For Haslip, that is now Haslip, he got a strike. He's got an open in the first, strike, 9 spare in the third, and a strike. He's got a strike coming off a 49 in the third. He's got a strike in the fourth. Tommy Parsons started with him. His 4th frame, coming off 2 strikes. Oh, he leaves the 10 pin. Matthew Carmestro started his 5th frame. 2 strikes in a row. Can he make it 3? He's got 3 in a row. Carmestro on a little bit of a run right now. Tommy Parsons picking up the dreaded 10 pin. They have 4 marks and 4 frames. Bookended by spares, 2 strikes in the middle. Tommy Parsons got a 69 through 3, coming in with a spare in the 4th. Heading over to lanes 15 and 16. Get some updates over there. Got some guys bowling some excellent games here today. Anthony Getty's up for Hilton. He's the freshman. 9 spare, 9 open. Open again in the third, open again in the fourth. And gets a strike in the 5th. Getty maybe turning it around. Isaac Botsford for Churchville Chapman with a strike also. Mason Williams, 4 strikes in a row, looking for his 5th in the 5th frame. Oh, just missed the mark. I guess I got to take credit for that one too. I jinxed that one. But still a heck of a start by Mason Williams in this game already. Ryan Pistecki from Churchville ends up with an 8 in his first ball in the 5th. He has 1 mark through 4, 39 in the 4th, coming off an 8 there. Mason Williams keeping the game going, got an excellent game going on, 4 strikes in a row, 7 spare in the 5th. Seventh grader Ryan Pistecki picks up the spare in the 5th frame. Dominic Galushin from Churchville Chili. Oh, hung it out there right. Jacob Morrill, first ball. Oh, he's got an ugly split there. Pistecki 5 in his first ball. Pulled it a little bit left, got it, picked up 1. He ends up with a 6th in the 5th frame. Jacob Morrill in his attempt to pick up this spare. It is doable. He's got to cross over a little bit. He's on the wrong side of that first pin. Anthony Getty. First ball in the 6th. He's coming off a strike. drops it a little bit, but he got the strike. 2 in a row for Anthony Getty. Isaac Botsford coming off a strike. He ends up with a 9 in his first ball in the 6th. Mason Williams, that's another 7. He picked it up last time. Mason Williams started out with 4 strikes in a row. In the 5th, 7 spare, and now just another 7, but certainly a spare that he should be able to pick up. We'll start out with 6 marks to start the game. Oh, he chopped it. It's an open, but Mason Williams still has a 132 through 6. Looks like they took a break in lanes 9 and 10 for the girls because, again, just the 2 bowlers there. So let's take a look back over here at lanes 11 and 12 where Bella Ferraro throws her first ball and gets a strike. Bella's now got through 6, 2 strikes and 4 spares. She's marked in every frame. A 94 through 5, but now a strike in the 6th. Abby Algarin for Churchville Charlie throwing her first ball in the 6th. She picks up 9 pins. She's coming off a spare, got a 72 in the 5th. Jenny Reeser throws and gets a 6 on her first ball in the 6th frame. Algarin trying to pick up her spare on lane 12. Straight ball, she's not even gonna look at it. That's a and she picked it up. Reeser got 6 on her first ball in the 6th. She'll look to pick up the spare. She didn't get quite far enough left, and she'll have an open in the 6th frame. She's got an 83 through 6 frames. Jaree Jennings picks up 9 pins in the 12 frames from Churchville Charlie. She's left the 7 pin. Taylor Lucas, her first ball in the 6th frame. A little muster on that thing. Oh, good. She gets a kick out. She got a strike there. For all the times that you get robbed, you appreciate those times that you are a little bit fortunate. Jennings' ball doesn't look like it's going to come back quite enough. Taylor Lucas, just an update on Taylor Lucas. She has 4 strikes through 6 frames. 1 open, 1 spare. Having a heck of a game. And before they finish up there on lanes 9 and 10, and they're already going into the 9th frame, Emily Chapman struggling just a bit. Haven't watched her bowl more than a few times. She's got a 106 in the 8th frame. She's got 2 splits. She's off of 4 open frames, and she just put it in the gutter on her first ball in the 9th frame. See if she can pick up the spare, turn it around. Better ball. Just didn't come back far enough in the pocket, and she'll walk away with 9 pins in the 9th frame. Elena Carr started out the match with 4 strikes in a row, and open with a split. Wasn't able to pick that up, so she had an open in the 5th. And now back on 3 in a row. So in the 8th through 8 frames, Elena Carr has 7 strikes and 8. Again, they're going at a slightly slower pace because it's just the 2 of them. Looks like Elena's now ready to go bowl her first ball, hopefully her only ball in the 9th frame. Possible 260 for Elena Carr if she were to strike out. 9th frame for Elena Carr. Pocket as solid as you can get. just swept the pins off the lane, and she's got 4 in a row. She's bookended one open frame where she had a split with 4 strikes on each end. That's a 170 through 7. Emily Chapman crossed over, missed the head pin. She starts out the 10th frame with 7.
What do they see on the screen?
Emily Chapman, second ball. A little quick on that throw, and she missed, and she got 9, and she ends up with a 124 in her first game. Again, Elena Carr with a solid game right now. Already over 200, which is her average. I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure exactly what her average is, but I believe it's well over 200. Again, coming off of 4 strikes in a row. Hits her first ball in the 10th. It's got good pace on it. Is it going to kick out that 10? Oh, it doesn't. She got 9 in the first ball in the 10th. Bella Ferraro on lane 11 just got her 3rd strike in a row. She's having a solid game. Elena Carr got her 2nd ball in the 10th frame. She's finishing out her first game. She picks up the spare. She's got a 219 in the 9th. And she could end up, if she strikes out, with a 239 for her first match of the day. See how Elena Carr does. .219 in the 9th. She's got a 9 spare in the 10th. Her 3rd ball in the 10th. 229 plus 10. She ends up with a 239 in her first game. Solid game by Elena Carr, 239 in the 2nd game. We're going to slide over to lanes 13 and 14, boys, as they're in their 8th frame. Tommy Parsons on lane 13 with a strike. Tommy Parsons, an up and down match so far for him. He's 9 spare with 2 strikes in a row, 9 spare with a strike, 9 open, now 2 strikes in a row. Matthew Camrestro on lane 14. He's got a strike 4 out of the last 5 frames. 1 strike, looking for 2 in a row. He got 2 in a row. Matthew's got that nice little pose on his throw, kicking out that left foot. Kenny Haslip up for Hilton. Always fun to watch. Scratching the ceiling on his backswing. Again, for us old guys, Kenny Haslip looks like he's gonna, that just hurts. That just hurts. Ends up with a 9 on his first ball in the 9th frame. Joe Donnelly throwing it hard for Churchville Chi-Li. Like it's mask, go Bills. Donnelly has a 90 in the 8th frame with a strike in the 9th. Haslip looking to pick up his spare, and he gets it. That's Joe Carazzi and his first ball. Heading down the lanes, 15 and 16. as both Hilton and Churchville heading into the 10th frame. Isaac Botsford for his first ball of the 10th. He gets 9. Anthony Getty, the freshman, first ball in the 10th frame for Hilton. Nice strike by Anthony. Getty's got a 154. Coming off a spare in the 9th, a 154 in the 9th. Botsford missed the pickup. He's done for the first game today. Botsford with a 135. Ryan Pistecki throws his first ball. He gets a 6 on his first ball in the 10th. Anthony Getty coming off a strike. And it's 2 in a row in the 10th. He's going to look to finish strong. Possible 184 for Anthony Getty. Pistecki in his second ball in the 10th, trying to get a third with a spare here. And he did it. Pistecki earns a third shot. Anthony Getty, third ball. Getty with 3 strikes in a row in the 10th. Nice way to finish 184 for Anthony Getty. Update on lanes 13 and 14. Matthew Carmestro finished his first game. He ended with 2 strikes in the 10th and a 7 with a 244. A solid game by the young Carmestro. Kenny Hassel with a strike in the 10th. Ryan Pistecki ended up with a 122 for Churchville Chale. Dominic Galushin throws his first ball in the 10th. Mason Williams, who started out with 4 in a row, just picked up his 2nd in a row, looking for 3 in a row to finish up his match. Pistecki had 7. And he missed the spare. I'm sure that was Dominic Galushin missed that. That was Dominic Galushin. He ends up with an 88. Mason Williams to finish out with 3 in a row. Looks solid, and he finishes 3 in a row. Nice finish from Mason Williams. Again, Mason started out with 4 in a row, finishes with 3 in a row. And Mason Williams with a 217. Wow, look at what Hilton's doing today. Hassel wins it with 3 in a row in the 10th frame. Ends up with a 185 in his first game. Jacob Moreau with a strike in the first ball of the 10th frame. Tommy Parsons on lane 13. Oh, leaves a wobbly 7-pin. Jacob Moreau with the first ball strike in the 10th, his second ball in lane 15. That's 2 in a row. Tommy Parsons to pick up the spare to earn a third ball in the 10th. And Jacob Morrill with a third strike. No one's counting, but the Hilton bowlers on lanes 15 just finished with 9 strikes in a row. And lane 13, Tommy Parsons ends up with a strike on his last ball, and he ends up with a 216. Jacob Morrill ended up with a 179. And the last ball in the first game for all bowlers will be Taylor Lucas. She has a 201 in the 9th. She has 2 strikes in the 10th. Looks solid. And she got the kick out, and 3 strikes with a 231 for Taylor Lucas in the 10th frame. What a finish by the Hilton bowlers. We had 3 strikes in the 10th from Taylor Lucas. Mason Williams, Anthony Getty, Jacob Morrill all finished with 3 strikes in a row in the 10th frame. And not to leave anybody out, but I believe Kenny Hassel was all as well. And we will get going in the 10th, in the second game. I think so. And we're just checking scores to make sure we give you the right information. If you're looking for the spreadsheet that I'm updating throughout the game today, go to Twitter, look up Hilton Athletics. There's a link there, and you'll see the scores as they are put in by me, and you'll see total scores throughout the games, the matches here today. Hilton girls with a huge advantage, obviously with 5 bowlers versus the 3 from Churchville Charlie. Ended up with a 939 total pins with 5 bowlers. The Hilton bowlers, again with the top 5 bowlers, ended up with 1,041. It's a great start for Hilton with 764 for Churchville Charlie. Give them a chance to start their second matches. We'll give you an update on the scores overall. We had Emily Chapman on lanes 9 and 10. Emily Chapman had a 124 and Elena Carr had a 239. This first game on lanes 11 and 12 from Churchville Charlie. Abby Elgarin 131. Jennings 146, and Nicole Stevens had an 89. For a team total of 366. For Hilton, Isabel Ferraro had a 208. Jenny Reeser had a 137. Taylor Lucas at 231. Excellent bowling by the girls. 3 out of the 5 bowlers with over 200 games. For the boys, Matthew Carmester came in with a 244, high game for the Hilton bowlers. Kenny Haslip, 185, and Tommy Parsons with a 216 on lane 13, 14, also for Churchville Charlie. Brandon Northrup with a 171, Joe Donnelly with 116, and Joseph Carosi with a 160. And on lanes 15 and 16, Anthony Getty from Hilton, the freshman, 184, Mason Williams, 217, Jacob Morrill, 179. Interesting fact about those 3 bowlers, they each bowled 3 strikes in a row in the 10th, having 9 strikes in a row for Hilton. Lanes 15 and 16, Isaac Betsford were 136 from Churchville Charlie, Ryan Pastecki 122, and Dominic Lucien had an 88. some changes going on here. Brendan Stevenson will be bowling in the second game here for Hilton, and Jacob Morrill will be taking a break. And as they get into the second game, and we'll look at lanes 15 and 16. Mason Williams had a 9 spare in the first, and he ends up with a 9 in the second. For Churchville Tri-Li, Ryan Pistecki, the 7th grader, with a strike in the second. Dominic Lucian for his first ball in the second. He had an open 7 in the first, and now an 8. Mason Williams to pick up the spare, and he ends up with 2 spares to start out the second game. Lucian to throw his second ball in the second frame of the second game. Lucian looks like he's got a good one. He picked up the spare. A nice mark by Dominic. Brendan Stevenson, his first ball of the day. First match of the day, he bowled and with a strike. He had a 7 spare in the first, a strike in the second. Good start for Brendan. Botsford from Churchville Chai, the lefty. Is it going to come back far enough? Does a little bit, but he ends up with a 9. He had 2 strikes in a row, 2 strikes and a 9. Good start for Botsford. Anthony Getty, his first ball in the third. He had a 9 spare with a strike. In the second, first ball, 2 in a row. Counted 2 in a row for Anthony Getty. Botsford to keep the mark string going, and he picks up the spare. Botsford, nice start with 2 strikes and a spare, 9 spare in the third. Working our way down, heading over to lanes 13 and 14. Matthew Carmestro really cranking that foul through. Oh, it's slow falling, but he ends up with a strike. Again, Matthew Carmestro with 244 in the first. He ends up with 2 strikes in the first 2 frames with a 9 spare in the third and a strike in the fourth. Joe Donnelly with a 7 in his first ball in the fourth. 7 spare, 2 strikes, 7. Got a second ball coming. Oh. That's a pretty throw by Kenny Haslip with a strike in the fourth. Haslip start to the second game. 9 spare, 3 strikes in a row. He's on a turkey. Joe Donnelly misses the spare. Instead, he had Tommy Parsons. First ball in the fourth. And that's a strike. 2 strikes in a row for Parsons. End up with 9 spare in the first 2 frames, then 2 strikes in a row. On lane 13, Joe Carosi, 2-handed delivery with an 8 on his first ball in the fourth. In the 5th frame, Brendan Northrup missed the head pin left. He got 7 pins. Northrup's second ball in the 5th. Kind of just drops. Looks good. Oh, he just barely missed that. He seems as shocked as I am. And Joe Donnelly with the spare.
See you, Mark. Good seeing you.
Stay here just for a little bit longer. Joe Carosi throw his first ball. Oh, I'm sorry. Joe Donnelly throw his first ball at 9. Matthew Carmestro striking the last. Crosses over just a little bit, hit it a little high, ends up with an 8 for his first ball in the 5th. Joe Donnelly, second ball, to pick up the 10 pin. Throwing it really hard, misses it left. Joe Donnelly has an 84 in the 5th. Brendan Northrup, 66 in the 5th. Joe Carosi up next. Carmestro picks up the spare. With a spare of the 5th, he has an 89 through 4. Carosi. His first ball in the 5th frame. Gets a strike. Nice strike by Joe. Haslip coming off of 3 in a row. Looking to keep that string alive into the 5th frame. Comes back hard, and he's got 4 in a row. Teddy Haslip, spare in the 1st, 4 strikes in a row through the 5th, and he's got an excellent game going on. We'll finish up the 5th frame and then slide over to the girls' side. Tommy Parsons, his first ball in the 5th. He's coming off of 2 strikes in a row after opening with 2 9 spares in the first 2 frames. Throws a little bit high. He's got an ugly looking split for his second ball. On lane 12, Taylor Lucas ends up with an open frame. Jenny Reeser on the lane 11. Reeser's coming off a strike on the 4th frame. Pretty straight ball. Looks like she got the head pin straight on. Left just the 10 pin. Abby Elgarin from Churchville Chili gets the head pin, kicks out the 7. She got 9. Well, let's head on right over to lane 9 and 10. We have missed a lot of action over there because it's just the 2 bowlers over there. Emily Chapman came back strong in the second game. She's already in the 10th frame. She had a strike in the 9th. She had a spare in the 8th. She's got 177 in the 8th, a strike in the 9th, 8 on her first ball in the 10th. Trying to get that spare. She's got it. She's got a 197 in the 9th. She's got 207 plus whatever she gets in the 10th. Taylor Lucas with a strike on lane 11. Emily Chapman, her final ball of game 2. Crosses over, she gets 9 pins and ends up with a 216 for Emily Chapman. That's called improvement, folks. She had a 124 in the first game and 216 in the second. We call that improvement, not inconsistency. Improvement. Elena Carr, she started out her second match with 3 strikes in a row, a 9 spare, 6-2 open in the 5th, 2 strikes in a row, 9 spare in the 8th, strike in the 9th, and 9 pins in her first ball in the 10th. So Elena Carr with 172 in the 8th. And Elena Carr with a spare, and she has 1 more ball to throw. Excellent bowling from Emily Chapman and Elena Carr. Again, Emily Chapman with a 216 in her second game. Elena Carr possible 212 if she were to strike out here. Elena Carr, final throw of the second game. Smooth, just changed balls. I like the change. Ends up with a 212 in the second game. Bellaferraro just got over to lane 12 just in time to see Bellaferraro with a strike. That's 2 in a row for her. Jennings from Churchville Childlight gets the pocket and she gets herself a strike. Jenny Reeser coming up with the strike, then 9 spare. She seems to get the pocket, leaves 9. Triple try Nicole Stevens. Just missed the pins. Put it in the gutter on her first ball in the 6th. Update over there in lane 13. Kenny Haslip with 5 strikes in a row. 6 strikes in a row, my bad. Reeser misses the spare. Stevens picks up the spare after throwing a gutter ball in the first ball. Taylor Lucas going into the 6th frame. She started out her second match with 3 strikes in a row with an open and then another strike. And she'll look to get a couple in a row here. She crosses over, ends up with 6. Bellaferraro on her first ball in the 7th frame. Oh, solid right in the pocket, and she ends up with a strike. That's her 3rd in a row. Taylor Lucas looking to pick up the spare. Yep, nice job. Nice pickup right there by Taylor Lucas. Taylor Lucas with a 104 in the 5th, now with a strike or 6 spare in the 6th. Jenny Reeser, her first ball in the 7th. Straight ball, looks like it might hit the pocket. Oh, it just drifted to the right just a little bit on her. Jeree Jennings, no, I'm sorry, Abigail Elgren from Churchville Charlie threw her first ball with an 8. Jenny Reeser trying to pick up the spare, 7 on her first ball. Oh, it looks like she hung it out right just a little bit, but she got it. She doesn't look happy about it. She fooled us all. Elgren picks up the spare, but we'll have to let her know she wasn't looking when it happened. Finishing up the 7th frame for Hilton, Taylor Lucas. Looks solid, and it's a strike. Taylor Lucas with a strike in the 7th and a 124 in the 6th. Solid game for her. Heading over to lanes 13 and 14, where hopefully you got to see it. I just saw the tail end of it. Kenny Haslip with 7 strikes in a row. Tommy Parsons up to finish up the 8th frame for Hilton. And he picks up 9. Joe Carazzi, Churchville Charlie, he does not pick up the spare. He had 6 on his first ball, 2 in the 3 in the 2nd for 9. Tommy Parsons to pick up the spare in lane 14. Solid. As they head into the 9th frame on lanes 13 and 14. First up will be Matthew Carmestro. Carmestro with a spare in the last. He's got a 147 in the 7th, a 7 spare in the 8th, first ball in the 9th, and he leaves the 10. Churchville Charlie's Northrop crosses over, and he ends up with 9. Carmestro to pick up the spare. He got it. He looks surprised by that. Make it look like you've been there before, kid. And Northrop picks up the spare. All right, here we go. 9th frame. Haslip having a solid game. And by solid, we mean one heck of a game. Just opened the game with a 9 spare in the first, and now he's off of 7 strikes in a row. Looking for number 8. Again, scratching that ceiling on the backswing. And he gets a 10 to kick out. Hassel with a heck of a game going on there. Right next door to him in lane 14. Carosi with a strike. Joe Donnelly with a strike. He's got to have the fastest ball going down those lanes. He's really cooking it. For Hilton in the 9th frame, Tommy Parsons coming off of 3 spares in a row. I'm sure he's looking for a strike here. Getting it right in the ship, and he does it. 152 in the 8th for Tommy Parsons off a strike. Could still get that 200 game with a strong finish in the 10th. Carosi in the 9th frame. Overcooks it, misses the head pin. And he ends up with 7 pins. Northrop first ball, comes back a little bit, leaves the 7. He starts off the 10th with a 9. Carosi in the 10th. Carosi in the 9th, I'm sorry, ends up with an open, got 9 pins. He's got a 140 through 9. Northrop misses his spare, and that'll be the end of his second game. Northrop ends up with a 128. Matthew Carmestro trying to finish out his second game. Matthew got 166 in the 8th, a spare in the 9th, his first ball in the 10th. Gets it out there. Is it going to come back? No, not quite. Ends up with 6 pins in his first ball in the 10th. Joe Donnelly in his first ball in the 10th, throwing it really hard. Ends up with 8. Little baby split, definitely manageable. Matthew Carmestro trying to pick up the spare to earn a 3rd ball. And he cuts it. Ends up with an open in the 10th frame. Matthew Carmestro with a 191. Joe Donnelly does pick up the split. He'll get a 3rd ball. Hassel coming off of 8 strikes in a row enters the 10th frame. 200 in the 7th. Could end up with a 290 to strike out. Does he get it? Yes, he does. There you go. Kenny Hassel having one heck of a game. We'll stick right here to see Hassel finish out his match. Donnelly, nice pickup of the split. Going his final ball of the second match, gets a strike. 2 marks in the 10th for Donnelly. He ends up with a 170. All eyes on Kenny Haslip right now, though. 9 strikes in a row. Second ball on the 10th. Looks very similar to the last one. There he goes. That's 10 in a row for Haslip. Nice ball with his neighbor right there, Carosi, with a strike to start off the 10th. Haslip, third ball, third and final ball in the 10th. He's got a 260 in the 9th. This is for a 290. Solid game by Kenny Haslip, 290. Folks, keeping track right there. That'd be 11 strikes in a row for the young man. Tommy Parsons leans it off the 10th frame for Hilton, or his last frame. Coming off a strike in the 9th. And he ends up with a strike. Carosi from Churchville Charlie. 2 strikes in the 10th for himself, 140 in the 9th. Does he end up with 9 pins in the 10th? Nice way to finish for 169 for Carosi. Tommy Parsons with a strike, and he'll have one more ball to finish, possibly with 3 strikes in a row. Tommy Parsons with 3 strikes in a row to finish out the 10th. Nice strong finish for a 212 from Tommy Parsons. Looked like he struggled a little bit in the middle of that game, but came back strong to finish up. Brendan Stevenson looking to finish out 10th frame, as is Dominic Lucian. Leaves an open in the 10th, and Lucian ends up with a 73. Brendan Stevens with a nice game at 213. Stevenson with a 213. Stevenson did not bowl in the first match and comes in as a sub with a 213. Solid. And we finish up on lane 2, or lane 11 and 12, I'm sorry. 11 and 12, we got Jenny Reeser starting off her 10th frame. Nice strike by Jenny Reeser. Bella Ferraro finished out with a 214. Jenny Reeser is finishing up right now. Abby Algarin ends up with a 147 in her second game. Churchville Charlie, Reeser with her second ball. Coming off a strike. Looks good. And she's got 2 in a row. Jerry Jennings, 2 strikes in a row, ends up with the 9. Nice finishing by Jennings with a 175. Reeser, final ball of her second game, with a 116 in the 9th. She's now 2 strikes in the 10th. Looks good again gets 9 pins with a 145 for Reeser in her second game. Nicole Stevens with a strike on her first ball in the 10th. Nicole had his 89 in the 9th and a strike in the 10th. Taylor Lucas, first ball in the 10th with a strike. Stevens from Churchville Charlotte pulls it a little left. I believe she got 4 pins. Taylor Lucas with 2 strikes in a row in the 10th. Stevens to finish out her game. Oh, she got her ball. Stevens with a 104 in her second game. Taylor Lucas to make it 3 in a row, and she does it. Taylor Lucas 3 strikes in a row to finish up with a 211. As we start the third match, the substitute situation. Matthew Carmester will be sitting out the third game. Jacob Morrill will be coming in over on lanes 13 and 14. Slide over to lanes 9 and 10. Just the 2 Hilton bowlers. Give you some updates there. They're already in the 9th frame. They've been pretty much left alone because they're only just a 2, and they're flying how quickly they're getting done. Emily Chapman just finished up her 9th frame with an open. She's got a 182 in the 9th. Again, another solid game by Emily Chapman after a tough start with a 124 in the first, then 216 in the second. Elena Carr in her third game started out with 2 spares, 9 spare in the first 2 frames, then 4 in a row. Then a 9 spare, then another strike in the 8th. We're waiting for her to throw her first ball in the 9th. She'll be taking, there's no rush from them over there. They're so far ahead. Dree Jennings had a split, the 7-10 split, missed it all on her second ball. She has an open to start her second game. Back over to 10. On lane 10, Elena Carr in the 9th frame. One strike in the 8th. She's got 2 in a row. Emily Chapman to finish up her day. She's in the 10th frame. Got to get a 182. It's an open in the 9th, but she's got a 182 through 9. First ball, she ends up with a count of 8 pins. Technically a split, but manageable split. There are certainly worse ones out there. Chapman, and she got it. Eight or higher, and Chapman will hit 200 again for her second game in a row. Chapman on her final ball of the day.
Coming through on the split screen and everything.
192 plus. 202 for Chapman. Chapman with a 124, a 216, a 202 with a 542 series. Nice strong finish after a slow start for Chapman. Bella Ferraro on lane 11 had a spare in the first, 8 spare. She ends up with a strike in the second. She's having a great day with games of 208 and 214. Elena Carr, her first ball in the 10th. She's got 2 strikes in a row. Solid in the pocket, and that's 3 in a row. Elena Carr with a possible 228. 258, my bad. Elena Carr with a possible 258. Her first ball on lane 11 in the second frame. Hits the pocket, gets a strike. Elena Carr with a 9 on her second ball in the 10th. Elena Carr picks up this spare. She'll end up with a 247. Taylor Lucas, spare in the first, 8 spares, and she's got a strike in the second. Taylor Lucas having a great day too. 231, 211, can't ask much more than that. Elena Carr to finish out the day. Ends up with a 247. Elena Carr with a 239, a 212, and a 247, 698 series, just missing the 700 series. Overall average of a 233. Just updating the spreadsheet. Again, if you missed it, if you're looking at what's going on in total in the spreadsheet, go to Twitter, look up Hilton Athletics. We have a live updated spreadsheet on what's going on here today with scores from each of the bowlers and what the team scores look like. Hilton has won both the first and second matches and has a unsurmountable lead on the overall pin total in both the boys and the girls. Heading over to the boys' side, they seem to be a little bit further ahead than the girls on lanes 11 and 12, so we want to make sure we get a look at them before they finish up. Lanes 13 and 14, they're already into the 4th frame. Jacob Morrill came in for Carmestro. He's now got 3 strikes in 4 frames. A strike, 9 spare, 2 strikes in a row. Good start for Jacob Morrill. Joe Donnelly from Churchville, throwing it hard, and he crosses over, and look at that pin action by Donnelly. Hasselhoff for Hilton. If you missed Kenny Hasselhoff in the last game, had 11 strikes in a row. Opened the first, and then 11 in a row. He's now in this game 7 spare, 9 spare strike, looking for 2 in a row. And he's got it. Kenny Hasselhoff having one heck of a day. Hasselhoff with a 185 in the first and a 290, improved by 105 pins. That's pretty solid. With a 475 through 2 games. Tommy Parsons the Iceman. No reaction. Didn't know if that was a strike or he left a split there. No reaction by Tommy Parsons. He ended up with 2 strikes in a row. Joe Carosi from Churchville Chili, 2-handed delivery, came very close to picking up that spare. He ends up with an 8 in the 4th frame. Northrup, his first ball in the 5th, crosses over a little bit, but hey, got the head pin enough. It's a strike in the 5th frame for Northrup. Jacob Morrell, coming off with 2 strikes in a row, just crossed over a little bit, ends up with a 5-10, 6-10, I'm sorry, 6-10. And then we'll take a peek over here on lanes 15 and 16. We've got Mason Williams, his second ball in the 4th. He got 9 pins, he picks up the spare. Mason Williams with 8 spare, strike, 9 spare, 59 in the 3rd, and a spare in the 4th. Brendan Stevenson in the 4th frame. He ended up with a strike in the 1st, open in the 2nd, strike in the 3rd. He had a very strong game. In the 2nd match, it was his first game. He came in as a sub, had a very good game. And he's got 2 strikes in a row, 3 out of 4 frames for Stevenson. He got 213, and that's his first game. It would end up being the 2nd match. What's that? Jeremy Garlando from Churchville Chili just bowled it. He's a sub for Churchville Chili. He picked up 3 pins. He's got a 34 in the 3rd. Jeremy Garlando throwing his second ball in the 4th. Looks like he's fairly new to the game. Drops it, looks like he's going to lose it right, ends up in the gutter. And he'll have a 37 through 4. Isaac Betsford, his first ball in the 5th, crosses over for a 5. Bedsford's got a 52 through 4, coming off a spare. You're looking at lane 14, Tommy Parsons got 9, left the 7 pin. It is the exact same reaction he had in the previous frame when he got a strike. Freshman Anthony Getty with a strike in the 5th frame. He's got 4 in a row for Getty. Getty had a great second game with a 226, so he's got something cooking. Mason Williams hits a head pin straight on, and he picks up 7 pins. Ryan Postecki with 9. Ryan Postecki having a tough 3rd game. 7 open, 8 open, 9 open, 7 open, and 9. Let's see if he can pick up this spare. He deserves it. Oh, he left it out right. Is it gonna, no, it's not going to quite make it over. That's frustrating for the young man. Stevenson, 2 strikes in a row. Make that 3. 4 out of 5. That's a turkey. Stevenson having a great game here. Sits out the 1st, ends up with a 213 in the 2nd, and now 3 strikes, 4 out of 5 frames with strikes. Jeremy Garlando with picking up 1 on his first ball. We are now down to 6 lanes. The 2 Hilton girls, Emily Chapman and Elena Carr, finished up for the day. Jeremy on lane 15 on his second ball in the 5th frame. 1 in the 1st. Nice second ball. He'll hit the head pin, and he ends up with 9. I'm sure he's pretty happy with that. Sliding back over. We're going to lane 13. We're just going to work our way back and forth. Joe Carazzi, he just picked up the strike. It's his second in a row through 6 frames. Northrop, first ball in the 7th. Crosses over. Technically a split, but manageable one. Just stay to the right of that second pin. Anthony Getty with 5 strikes in a row over there in lane 14 or 15. And lane 14, Jacob Merrill just picked up his second in a row, and he's having a solid game. Haslip, 2 spares in the first 2 frames, but he picked up on that strike train again. Haslip with 4 in a row. Again, 11 in a row to finish out the second game for a 290. He's on 4 in a row. Haslip scratching the ceiling on the backswing. Oh, and he's got 5 in a row. One question for Haslip. What's with the 185 in the first game, buddy? We say that in jest, folks. He's having one heck of a day. Donnelly from Churchville Chile, the pin action. He's hurting those pins. Tommy Parsons coming off a strike in the 6th. Smooth. And leaves the 10 pin. Gotta keep an eye on a few bowlers here. We got Haslip having another strong game. And Anthony Getty with, I believe, 6 strikes in a row over on lanes 15 and 16. Tommy Parsons picks up the spare. Lanes 11 and 12. Bella Ferraro leaving the 7 pin on her first ball, and she missed it. Bella Ferraro now with a 104 through 6. They're in the 6th frame. Jerry Jennings with a strike there in the 6th frame.
25 years ago, all magnetic. Giant box.
Jenny Reeser with her first ball in the 6th.
No pins, no buckets, cables, nothing. It's all the moving deck.
Looks good. Looks really good. Oh, she ends up with a 9. Stevens with her first ball in the 6th. Just faded a little bit right for honor.
It's like this is good hand.
Reeser trying to pick up the spare on lane 11. She's got the 7 pin sitting there. Looks like she missed it a little bit right. Stevens puts it in the gutter on to the left. Bounce on the gutter. Technically supposed to take that pin off, but I think they're going to leave that alone. Taylor Lucas having a rough start of this 3rd game. She had a spare in the 1st, a strike in the 2nd, and then 3 splits in a row. First ball in the 6th, and she gets a strike. She's back to straighten that back out. Bella Ferraro leaving it open in the 6th. Her first ball in the 7th, hits it a little bit high, and she now has a split. Take a look at lane 13. Haslip with 2, 4, 5 in a row. Had 11 in a row in the last game. He might be what we call en fuego. And, oh! Ends up with a 9 in his first ball in the 8th frame. Bella Ferraro. Probably looking to just kick out one of them. Almost picks up the spare. Haslip picks up the spare, and he's got a solid game going again. 178 in the 7th with a spare in the 9th. Algarin for Churchville Chile does not pick up the spare. and she left it open. Reeser, first ball in the 7th. Oh, crosses over, will not be coming back. Misses the head pin, ends up with 6. Tommy Parsons on the 13th frame. Lane 13. 9 pins. Therese Jennings with 9 pins also on lane 11. Reeser trying to pick up the spare, has a chance. Oh, just cut it. Chop on that one. Parsons picks up the spare on lane 13. Jennings from Churchville, oh, just falls in the gutter and does not get the spare on lane 11. Taylor Lucas coming off a strike on the 6th frame. Brandon Northrup on lane 13 just pulled a strike for Churchville Chili. Nicole Stevens with 9 on her first ball. Taylor Lucas has 2 in a row as she heads into the final 3 frames of the day. Donnelly punishing the lane. Haslett in the 9th frame, finishing up a very strong day. Picks up another strike. Tommy Parsons, his first ball in the 9th. Looking for it to be his only ball in the 9th. Then he does. It's a strike. Northrup heading to the 10th frame. Churchville Chili. Drops it. Northrup picks up 9 pins. Carosi, finishing up his 8th, ends up with a 9 and an open. Carosi with a 124 through 9. Northrup ends up with an open in the 10th and ends up with a 170 to finish out his last game. Northrup with a 170. Northrup with games of 171, 128, 170. Jacob Morrill bowling for Hilton. His first ball in the 10th. Jacob Morrill was coming off of 4 strikes in a row, 197 in the 8th. Possible 227 for Jacob Morrill to pick up the spare and a 10 to strike in his final ball. Oh, pushing up a little too quick and open in the 10th. Still a solid game. 225 for Jacob Morrill. I was wrong on what he could possibly get, but he's still with a 225. Joe Donnelly an open with a 145. An open in the 5th and the 10th ends up with a 145. His day is done. Hottest bowler of the day by far, Kenny Haslett. Going into the 10th frame, coming off a strike in the 9th. An open or a spare in the 8th, so came in a little high and leaves 2. Still solid game. Possible 238 for Haslett in the last game. Haslip picks up the spare. He'll get one more ball. .218 in the ninth. Possible .238 for Haslip with a strike and his final ball. Joe Carosi with a strike on his first ball for Churchville Childline. Got a two-handed style. Hits the pocket solid. He's got two in a row. Haslip. Final ball of the day. We had a crowd here. They'd be standing on their feet just to celebrate what this young man has done today. Yeah, picked up 7 and ends up with a .235 for Haslip. .235 in his final game. Haslip ends up with a 7-10 series for today. Carosi finishes with 7 on his final ball. Joe Carosi ended up with a 151 for a 480 series. Tommy Parsons hits a first ball strike in the 10th. He's now has 2 in a row. Tommy Parsons for 3 in a row. Second in the 10th, solid. Ty Parson is homer tonight. Top Gun. We have a new Iceman. No reaction for Tommy Parson. That could be on a split. You wouldn't know the difference. Parsons, 3 in a row. He's got 2 in a row in the 10th. His final ball of the day. Tommy looks like he's going to finish strong. 4 strikes in a row for a .213 for Tom Parsons. Tommy Parsons ends up with a .216, .212, .213, a model of consistency with a .641 series today. Excellent match by Tommy Parsons. They're into the 10th frame on lanes 15 and 16. We'll slide over just as they finish up. Anthony Getty, nice day with a .225 in his final game. Mason Williams with a 154. And Hilton's Brendan Stevenson ends up with a 7 on the first ball in the 10th. It's a split. We'll see how he ends up. Isaac Botsford with a 142 in his third game from Churchville Chili. Botsford has a 135, 149, 142. Stevenson finishes out his game with a 176. 176 in his second game, third match, second game. Stevenson with a 389 two-game series. Kostecki for Churchville Chili finished up with a 117. Jamil Garlando goes into the 10th. Good for Jamil. He had a strike in the 9th. 71 through 8, strike in the 9th. His first ball is a 6 for Jeremiel. Looking to pick up the spare, so he will get a third ball in the 10th. Jeremiel drops it, but it has a chance. And he picks up the spare. Jeremiel looking to finish up strong with 2 marks in a row. Strike in the 9th, spare in the 10th. And the girls are finishing up on lane 12, 11 and 12. We'll head over there as soon as Jeremiel finishes up his final ball of the day. 101 plus 7 pins. He ends up with a 108. And the girls over in lanes 11 and 12, Jenny Reeser just finished up with 3 strikes in the 10th frame for a 145. Bella Ferraro had a 179 in her final game of the day. Nicole Stevens with a strike in her first ball in the 10th. Taylor Lucas looking to answer a little bit, and she ends up with a strike in her first ball in the 10th. Stevens goes straight on and leaves 1 pin. Taylor Lucas, second ball in the 10th. Strike in the first one, strike on the second one. Going to try to finish strong here. And Steven misses on her last ball. And she ends up with 98. Taylor Lucas with 3 strikes in the 10th finishes her game, finishes strong with a 178.
Thank you, honey. You're welcome. Gather up.
We're just finishing out the tabulations for today. Again, if you're looking for that spreadsheet, I'll announce it one more time. You go to Hilton Athletics on Twitter, and there's a link to the spreadsheet for the total scores. Coach, is it 2 points per game?
1 per game, 2 for series.
Okay, as we finish up the point totals here. Hilton took all points here today. 5 for the girls, 5 for the boys. Just to run through, just so we can one more time recap the scores today. Emily Chapman and Elena Carr were by themselves in lanes 9 and 10 here today. And series alone, Chapman with a 542 3-game series, and Elena Carr with a 698 3-game series, just missing the 700, which is amazing. You could say that. On lanes 11 and 12, Bella Ferraro with a 601 series, got that 600 series. Jenny Reeser with a 427, and Taylor Lucas with 3 strikes in her final frame of the day ends up with a 620 series. For Churchville Chi-Line, lanes 11 and 12, Abby Elgerin ends up with a 414 series. Jennings ends up with a 480 series, and Nicole Stevens a 291 series. On lanes 13 and 14, we're heading over to the boys. Matthew Carmester through 2 games had a 435 series with a 217 average. Kenny Haslip would be the bowler of the day with a 710 series, 237 overall average. Tommy Parsons, another solid night for him, 641 series, 214 average for today. Jacob Morrill bowled the last game on lanes 13 and 14. It ended up being his second game, but 1 game on lane 13 14. He ended up with a 225. We'll be more about Jacob Morrill. For the Churchville Chi Bowlers, Brendan Northrup ended up with a 469 series. Joe Donnelly with a 431 series, and Joe Carosi with a 480 series. And our final lanes of 15 and 16, Anthony Gaddy with a 635 series, Mason Williams 554 series, Jacob Morrill had 179 on lanes 15 and 16, a 179, and again he had a 225 in the third game over on 13 to 14. I'm trying to do the math real quick. Ooh, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a 404 series, Don't do the math. Don't check up on me. I think it's a 404 series for Jacob Morrell from 2 games. Brendan Stevenson ended up bowling the last 2 games over in lanes 15 and 16. He ended up with a 389 2-game series also. For Churchville Child, Isaac Botsford, 426 series through 3 games. Ryan Postecki, 3-game series of 406. Dominic Lucian bowled 2 games, ended up with a 161. And Jeremy Garlando from Churchville Child bowled just the 3rd game, and he ended up with a 108. Team scores. Hilton girls ended up with a 939, 998, 951 through in each of the 3 games with just the 5 bowlers. That's solid with a 2,888 overall. The boys with 1,041 the first game, 1,132 second game, and 1,074 in the 3rd game for an overall pin count of 3,247. Churchville Child girls with just the 3 bowlers end up overall with 1,185 pins. The boys end up with 2,212. Hilton gains all 5 points for the girls and the boys. Well, that'll do it for here from Hilton. It's Pleasure Lanes. Hilton takes all 5 points against the visiting Churchville Child Saints. Another great night for the cadets. It'll be a while before we come back. I believe it's almost 2 weeks before Hilton will host another home match. And you'll get to suffer through the sounds of Steve Sorensen giving you the action. But whether home or away, Varsity Media has been doing all the games. So look into Varsity Media anytime there's a match. Varsity Media will have a link and a link for you to be able to keep up with the action. That's all we got. We hope you drive safe. Actually, you're home probably, so you can't drive safe. But hope the kids drive safe. And everybody has a great night. Thanks a lot. Good night.